All right. Welcome back. Welcome back to that fucking same old line that I say every goddamn time, don't you? Huh? Anybody? Can anybody say it by memory? Yeah, orchestrated collapse bullshit, remember? Maybe it's time to change. Maybe it's time we change it up. Eh? Maybe it's time I fucking change. Yeah. Spur of the moment. Little live stream here. Not a jack stream, not a red stream, not a no. Just sharing a little information of what I've found just tonight because everybody knows my dear mother passed. It's been almost 2 years, right? And hey, I'm still fucking moping around, right? Doing a little bit better, but holy shit. I thought about her and Britt today and just waterworks, right? The waterworks. So you know, as from time to time I clicked on YouTube and put in, coping with grief and probably rolled through a dozen videos or a bunch of crap, right? Until I popped upon this one that I will be sharing here. Now, this is the Huberman Lab Podcast number 74. It's about the science of coping with grief. And when this guy came on, I could just tell by the way he talked that this was completely different. This is a completely different show here. They're going to tell you, they're going to roll through those Homer Simpson steps, right? Who can forget, the coping with grief Homer Simpson steps when he just, denial, acceptance, all that, right? And these are mentioned in here, but, literally ends with some tools on how to cope with grief. And I took some notes when I was watching it. We'll watch a little bit of it. When I watch the whole thing, of course, 2 hours long. But there's a reason why this guy's got 4.79 million subscribers, right? Andrew Huberman Lab Podcast 74, The Science and Process of Healing from Grief. And hey, grief is directly related to your closeness, not just emotionally, but your literal proximity, right? I mean, you live with somebody and they pass, of course it's going to affect you much greater than if you lived 1,000 miles away and never seen them, right? Kind of like don't do it. Don't talk about those pieces of dog shit that are trying to steal my life. No, I won't. But there's also two different kinds of forms he talks about here. There's a complicated and a non-complicated grieving, right? If it couldn't get more complicated. But he also mentioned a lady, Mary Frances O'Connor. She's a grief study, and there's a link here. We can go in and you can fill out a questionnaire, and they'll diagnose whether you do have the complicated or non-complicated. I guess the one of them's worse. Right. And I think it was counterintuitive. I think it's the non-complicated. Probably wrong. But I listened to this once, and already it seemed to help. I mean, it was just clicking in my mind, right? And there's some things I want to try. But he also mentions sun gazing as releasing cortisol, help you sleep better, right? You see, he says he's like a broken record on this. So I like this guy, man, because I talked about that too, and I'm how I am with my boost your immune system now bullshit, right? And so, I mean, I was just thinking about what he was saying, and he talked about proximity, and so of course since the COVID and all that crap, right? I was here the whole 2 years, right? Instead of leaving like I usually do, and we're having every meal together. I mean, you get super, get much closer to that, right? And so that's why it hit me in such a level, right? I mean, it was gonna anyway, but anyway, as he was talking about that, I started to think about a little experiment, perhaps. to try. And instead of just like keeping, I've noticed that since I've changed a few things around here, that it's been easier, right? Like the first one being the refrigerator in there with all the pictures on it, right? I mean, dear God, been the same way for the 40 years that Mom's been here, basically, right? And I finally just cleared the freaking deck, right? Every picture off of it. And so the only one I left was Ma's, and I put it on the side so it's not on the front anymore. I can only see it when I'm cooking, right? And so that made a difference. And had I been thinking more about it at the time, we probably would have done more of that. But this moving up to her room, cleaning the whole place out. The freaking place was a trash heap, man. Oh my God, right? And I mean, I'm talking literally. I mean, my dear mama, I love her to death, but what a hoarder. And she never liked to clean, right? The bathroom itself, nightmare too. And so, as a matter of fact, I mean, I had to literally fix the the mechanism inside of it, even, right? And so it's just literally covered with just so much silt, insane amount, right? That was the only thing keeping it solid, right? And so it leaked after that until I adjusted it. But I got it so clean and nice in here. And it took me a year to come in this room, right? Unless I was ready to cry, right? And it's because this is where I found it, right? Down there on the ground, right down there, right? You can see the carpet right there. Little spot right there. Brown show you there. And literally still has the outline of, her body, because that's the cool spot on the carpet where she liked to lie. And she lied there for years and years and years, right? And so I don't think it'll ever not have some part of the indent there, right? And I couldn't even look at it before, right? So I've made some pretty good progress just in being able to do that. And just being able to live here in this room, right? No shit. I mean, I couldn't even come in here for the first year. But we're coming up on 2 years now. And so I literally figured that I gotta get busy and try to figure out how to get over the shit. And so, I mean, some of the things I was doing were pretty good, but listening to this is just talking about the science of it, right? The science of it, the receptors in the brain and shit like that. People who produce more adrenaline will stay in grief longer. All kinds of shit like this. This is just the most interesting podcast. If you're not currently in grief, don't worry. We're all going to be hit by it sometime, right? And so best to, and they even say, if you're better prepared for it, it's not going to be as bad either, right? Of course, it all makes sense, right? And so at the very end of it, he has some actual tools that we're going to talk about and look at. I don't expect anybody to be in here, but the replay will get watched. And I'm going to cut back. I was trying to do this on Facebook and it wasn't working. And so I came over here. And so here we're going to cut to just a few minutes ago where he's starting to talk about this. Bad part was he does have a lot of advertisements, but hey, he's got a lot of sponsors, man. And this guy is on top of it, man. Just listen to how he talks. He even sounds different. Here we go.
As we wade into this important topic, I'd like to emphasize some of the common myths and misunderstandings about grief. Some of the myths and misunderstanding arrive from the beautiful work of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, a psychologist who wrote the famous book on death and dying. And I should emphasize that while Kubler-Ross was a real pioneer in establishing that there are indeed different stages of grief, the modern science, both psychology and neuroscience, point to the fact that not everybody experiences all of the stages that Kubler-Ross defined, nor do they move through those stages in a linear manner. Sometimes they're out of sequence. I'll just highlight the 5 stages that Kubler-Ross illustrated because some people really do experience all of them. Sometimes in the order I'll read them, but again, oftentimes they don't. The different stages of grief, very quickly, are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. In the Kubler-Ross model, denial is always the first stage. And denial is, just as it sounds, this disbelief. It cannot be. There's no way. A refusal to accept the new reality.
Who can't think about Homer Simpson at this point, right? Right? He went through them just fast. I always think about that.
That the person or animal is gone. The second stage, anger, is one in which The individual recognizes that the person is indeed gone or the animal is gone, but their body and their mind go into a motivated state. This is important. We're going to return to this idea of grief as a motivated state that involves action plans in more depth as we go further. And then the third stage is bargaining, what's sometimes called the negotiating phase. This idea that, well, if I had just done this, or if they had just done that, or if I'd called more, or somehow refusing to accept.
It's like I was going through a lot of that with the had I not gotten up earlier, right? I went through that for God, how long, right? But even though I knew better and I tried not to, it just constantly kept coming back too, right? If only I had gotten up, if only she didn't eat fast food, blah, 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 right? No. I've since realized, no, God called her, right? Her time. So lucky. The very thing that we're all waiting for, right? To attain our full power. And she sure as shit did, because there's not a single iota of remaining spiritual energy here. I mean, except for, the prayer energy, but not our personal power. No, that was, she's got all 100% of her power. She leave no ghost here, right? Because she was happy. Happy. That's the secret. Happy in death. Remember, I told you the expression on her face, man. Shock and awe, right? Just how she used to get that very same thing when she'd hear the voice of God, but this time literally seeing. Oh my God. So this are the things that I have to constantly remind myself too, that she's happy, right? And won't be happy seeing me sad. I'm up around here weeping 2 years later. What the fuck? And so let's listen to this guy a little bit more.
The reality. So in a way, this can be blended with denial in thinking, well, if I just don't think about it, it won't be real, this kind of thing. So again, stages can be blended or braided together because emotions are complex, right? Even though there are different stages to this process, they can sometimes be melded together. The fourth stage of depression that Kubler-Ross described is one of why go on living? Why should I go on living? Why should I continue in this grief-stricken state that seems to deprive me of all the richness of life that I experienced when the person or animal was still here? And then the fifth stage is acceptance. This internalization, not just cognitively, not just thinking, but emotionally, that it's going to be okay. That not just this too shall pass, but that it has passed. So again, the 5 stages of grief that Kubler-Ross defined were immensely important as a critical parsing of the different stages that one could move through. But unfortunately, those 5 stages were sort of taken to be gospel for a long time. And we now know, based on neuroimaging, based on more in-depth psychological evaluation, and frankly, more researchers and clinicians moving into this area and observing that while much of what Kubler-Ross described does hold true, it's not always the case. And in fact, the contour of the grief process actually has a lot of dimensions that are not encapsulated by those 5 stages. There's also a lot of variation depending on whether or not the loss is due to old age, disease, whether or not there was suffering prior or not, suicide or non-suicide type deaths and losses, and even grief about non-death losses, a relationship breakup or something of that sort, or even homesickness and things of that sort. So I do want to tip our hats to the incredible work of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. By no means am I or do other researchers try and discount her incredible contributions, but I think nowadays we have a different and frankly a better understanding of what the grief process is like. And as a
But as you can see, as you can hear by this guy's very voice and the way he speaks, so much different than every other, get over grief video I've ever seen. Just went through a dozen of them tonight, right? So, boy, what's up, Kristen? Kristen, it's early for me, late night for you. Yes, it is, but it's Saturday night, and I do not have to work tomorrow, right? I have weekends off now. Isn't this insane, right? And so I've been doing a lot of work around here today. And of course, whenever I do that, right, I wind up, it hits me, right? It hits me. Especially now, staying up here in Ma's room, right? And, conditioning myself to accept that, this is where I sleep now. Nah. And mom's in a better place, man. She's got full power now, baby. So, but this video that I'm playing, just the one time listen to it, has really already helped a lot. And I took a bunch of notes, of course, but he has some tools at the end, literally tools on how to help cope with grief, right? And if you aren't currently coping with grief, then it stands to reason that in the future, it's going to come around. I don't know if there's anybody out there who have never had grief ever, right? Never will. Wow, right on. But for the rest of us, it's almost set in stone now, isn't it? It's so no, I listened to this whole podcast while I was cleaning today, like a couple hours long, and I was pausing it here and there where I had to go and do other stuff, right? Doing laundry, I was getting some stuff ready. I got a friend that needs like a dresser and stuff like that. I'm getting all ready for him. I told him that this thing's broke. The drawers are broke. He's like, I'll fix it, right? And so I'm like, okay, remember that though. And he's like, no, I just need some stuff, right? And so I give him a little broke down dresser. And a little table and a couple of chairs. There's a billion of them around here, right? And throw him down some dishes if he needs them. I mean, God, he just cleaned out the silverware drawer again today, and it's just like, dear God, how many sets of silverware, right? It's insane. And so, of course, all old used stuff too, right? I can't give it away, but yeah, I was cleaning up in here today, getting everything going too, and I thought about my cousin Britt too, right? But my mom were close, and she's so young. Yeah, it's kind of piled up. It's been a while, right? And so it was different though this time. I just kept working, and it's kind of silently weeping away as I still cleaning and stuff, right? And started listening to. I just went on and I searched again, and there's a bunch of crap, of course. Listen to a dozen different people with their blah blah blah, right? Until this guy came on, and like I said, just the very sound of his voice, much different. We'll listen to a little bit more. I didn't really plan on going here a long time. As a matter of fact, I tried this on Facebook to start with first time, and Facebook kept dropping, so I just kind of let it go. And then he's talking about here, lack of motivation, and the dopamine. Yeah, it's supposed to be good, right? No, not in this case. And so he talks about how your proximity to the person who passed is going to affect too, right? If you live with them, of course, it's going to affect you more than if you're 1,000 miles away, right? And then he's talking about remapping your relationships, and also, remapping your whole brain to accept that this person that you're very close to no longer around, right? Got to remap your whole thing. Can't just sit there and just keep, I wasn't doing all of it, but I was doing part of it, right? Just not moving through this. And so this is why I'm really excited about this video and showing you guys. But what I really like best is down here at the end where he's talking about this vagal tone and the heart rate and breath work, right? A lot of stuff I like to talk about too. And then you get to the tools of processing grief, and a lot of it is in sleep too, right? Something that I never get, right? I didn't sleep for 3 days, and for 3 months basically. I still haven't slept that well, right? If I don't stay up late, I don't get sleep, and so sucks, but hey, that's how it is. But I'm gonna click to this vagal tone thing, right? This is something never heard of, right? And this is how your heart rate will increase as you intake breath, and then decreases the exhale. Nice little gem I didn't know about. I don't know if anybody else out there knew about it, but like I said, this is what I like about finding new things like this, right? So let's listen to them. I'm gonna skip to this vagal tone thing, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And here we go.
I'd like to take a moment and explore this idea that allowing ourselves to really feel the attachment to somebody can accelerate or at least support adaptive transitioning through grief. There's a really wonderful study that on the face of it appears to be what we call negative result. A negative result is when a hypothesis is posed and then turns out the hypothesis is not true. But As is the case with so many interesting scientific findings, often when there's a negative result, there's a more interesting result nested in that negative outcome. And this is the case in a particular paper I'll share with you now. This is a paper published in the journal Biological Psychology. And again, the title is posed as a question, which is Emotional Disclosure for Whom? A study of vagal tone in bereavement. What this study explored was whether or not written disclosure of the emotional connection to somebody that was lost would be effective as a way for people to move through the grieving process. The study also explored the so-called vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is an extensive nerve pathway that is bidirectional between brain and body. So brain to body and body to brain. It generally is associated with calming effects on our brain and body, although that's certainly not always the case. The way to think about it in terms of what we're going to talk about now is heart rate and heart rate variability. And in very simplistic terms, if your heart was just allowed to beat at its sort of default rate, that rate would be rather high because of the activation of the so-called sympathetic arm of the autonomic nervous system, the alertness component of the autonomic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system, as it's called, involves calming. We sometimes hear sympathetic is for stress or fight or flight. It's for a lot of other things as well, I should mention, and it is not for sympathy. Sympa simply means together, and it reflects the activity of a bunch of neurons being active at the same time or together, sympa. Whereas parasympathetic is often associated with quote unquote rest and digest functions or calming functions, although it is certainly involved in other things as well. So sympathetic nervous system drives alertness, panic, stress, etc. Parasympathetic nervous system, meaning a distinct set of neurons, drive calming, falling asleep, digestion, sexual arousal for that matter, and so on. So it's sort of like a seesaw of alertness and calm, sympathetic and parasympathetic, back and forth. The vagus nerve is generally associated with parasympathetic functions and has the capacity to slow down our heart rate, in particular by exhales. And just simply because of the movement of the diaphragm and its relationship to the heart and the thoracic cavity, exhales result in slowing down of the heart rate. This is what we call.
This is what I have to go back to being surprised about, right? He's talking about, we know that breathing has a lot to do with your health and wellness and everything, your state, even where you're at this moment, especially where you're at this moment, right? If you're not breathing. But the interesting thing of him, mentioning on the inhale, your heart rate increases, and then exhale, it decreases. As a matter of fact, through controlled exhaling, you can literally slow your heart rate down and control it, right? And this is probably how these guru types do it, right? And so I found this very interesting, and so do listen up.
An increased vagal tone. So let me explain for a moment. And actually, here's a tool you can use, not just in terms of navigating grief, but in terms of stress modulation generally. We have a muscle called the diaphragm. When we inhale, whether or not it's through our mouth or our nose, our diaphragm moves down. As a consequence, there is more space overall in the thoracic cavity. The heart gets a little bit bigger, believe it or not, volume-wise. Blood flows more slowly through that large volume, and there's a signal conveyed from the nervous system to the heart to speed the heart up. So inhales literally speed your heart up. And when you exhale, the diaphragm moves up. And as a consequence, there's less space in the thoracic cavity. Heart gets a little bit smaller. The existing blood volume in the heart at that time moves more quickly through that small volume, right? A given amount of blood volume make the compartment it's in the heart smaller, and the blood moves more quickly through that volume. And as a consequence, the nervous system sends a signal to the heart via the vagus and other pathways to slow the heart down. In other words, exhale, slow the heart down. That process, that relationship between inhale speeding the heart up and exhale slowing the heart down is something called respiratory sinus arrhythmia. Some people are able to engage respiratory sinus arrhythmia more naturally, more reflexively than others. You can actually train this by consciously thinking about slowing your heart rate while you exhale and consciously thinking about increasing your heart rate as you inhale. You can literally strengthen these pathways. Now, respiratory sinus arrhythmia And the ability to slow your heart rate with exhales is one dimension of what's called vagal tone, or your ability to control your overall level of activation of alertness and stress with these vagus nerve pathways. So vagal tone is something that varies from person to person. If you've trained up or you've thought about your relationship between breath and heart rate, you can improve vagal tone. Some people have very robust vagal tone without having done any training. Other people have less of it, etc. I'll just paraphrase from this paper and you'll see where this takes us in terms of navigating grief, because it's quite important. The vagus nerve provides inhibitory regulatory influence on the heart, allowing the heart rate to increase rapidly through vagal withdrawal. That means kind of coming off the brake of the parasympathetic nervous system, as in response to a stressor in one's environment, right? When you're stressed, you rarely take the opportunity, if it's an immediate stress or threat, to actively exhale. Although that would be a great tool to use. And in fact, we promote that tool in our Mastering Stress episode. Vagal withdrawal usually co-occurs with an increase in sympathetic activation of the heart. You now know what that is, or is known as the fight or flight response. Vagal tone reflects the degree to which there is tonic, meaning ongoing, vagal influence on the heart. So when you have a high degree of vagal tone, it means that you are always activating that brake on your stress system, just at default. And some people just happen to do that more. Other people need to practice long exhale breathing in order to build up vagal tone, something that's very useful to do, whether you're grieving or not. Now, in this study, what they did is they had people, and I should say it was 35 participants, go through a writing exercise for a period of weeks. They actually wrote.
Okay, this part is also very interesting. I was surprised at the outcome, though. Like I said, he's just saying how they took some people and had them write about the experience, write about their grief. You know, what I always used to consider, like, you just write it out of you, right? Write it right on out, write it into the paper, bad energy out, right? And when he goes and talks about the result, right? They said that there was no result. Everybody, they just had another group just write about whatever they did that day, right? Nothing emotional whatsoever, right? And so they didn't see any real change in anything different in either group until later, when they started to look more at different other different other factors in their life, including this vagal tone that he's talking about with the heart and stuff like that, right? And so, like I said, this is such an intriguing podcast this guy's doing here, and I cannot wait to go ahead and look at some more of his channel, because I mean, you'll hear him continue to say he's trying to get this type of information out there for free, right? He's like, the rare good doctor, right? The rare, not the Darth Vader doctor with freaking Nazi sorcery, right? No, this is one of the guys, right? And so, and I just like the way he talks. He say, he's just nice, smooth, and laid back. Everything's good information, very level and even toned. I mean, yeah. And then he mentions other things that I like to talk about too. At the end, you'll hear him talk about sun gazing, right? Something I don't get to do much up here, especially in the winter, right? Yeah. Because there's no sun, baby. I'm at work before it comes up, and right now we're just getting to the part of the year where you see the sky start to lighten when I'm driving to work, right? And that's what makes me think I'm late sometimes. So I'm like, oh no, I must be late. And so here in a few more weeks, you're going to start seeing that sun again, during those key times when I have time to where I might be able to look at it, but sun gazing, if you haven't done it, look it up. Very easy to do, always sunrise and sunset, because right at the horizon where it's not so potent, right? Directly above you, it's too bright, right? Burn your eyes out, boom. But at the low elevation, right, when it looks so huge and stuff too, magnified by the curvature. It's actually just by the air itself, because it's denser. Right? Anyway, You can literally, after you train yourself long enough, just by looking at it for your count, just start counting at first. Is 10 seconds to start with, and you 15, 20, 30, you'll work your way up to a minute and plus for each gaze, right? And what's cool about here, I have trees too, right? And you can put like a little bit of a leaf right in front of the sun and help to block a little bit of it, but still be ingesting that direct sun energy directly straight, looking at it, and it comes straight into your eye, going right inside your right inside your body. Come on, it works. And they say some say that yes, you could survive just off sun gazing alone, in breath work. And I'd be like, give me a steak, damn it. But you know what I'm saying? I'd be like, oh, I gotta catch me a salmon. You ain't gonna make me not eat, bitch. So we were talking about a little thing on the slide here, right? And no surprise, Winmore again, fucking retard. But yeah, I mean, the first time was like, remember we were doing live stream, and he's like, I'd like to just reach through this computer screen and choke you out. And I just chuckle, right? Because I mean, I've dealt with freaking retards like him my whole life, right? Because I'm not a very big guy. But these big, ugly, stupid, fucking retarded, steroid taking freaks think that they can intimidate me. And that's not the case, baby. Brains over brawn. It's never failed, right? And the first thing I do with these baby Huey motherfuckers, kick right in the nuts so fucking hard that they can't get back up, right? It's going to take them at least 5 to 10 minutes minimum to even think about crawling to their hands and knees. And I've done it before. Only to people who deserve it, right? Like these big fucking stupid retards who think they're going to come at me, they're come at you with their hands held out like Frankenstein. And they're just as slow as Frankenstein too. And they're just as stupid because they don't get it. And they never do. And that's when you just do takes me about 1/10 of a nanosecond to snap kick, because I haven't lost any of my speed, not even a fraction, even at 60. Foot snap, boom, man, just fucking drive that left nut straight up into their liver. And I'm telling you, you can't stand, right? They drop like a fucking puppet with their strings cut, and they can't get back up. They just can't. You couldn't get back up to save your fucking life, right? If you ever had it done to you, you know what it's like. Even if you've just had him, I mean, even if you just slightly kick the nuts, you're gonna still feel it, right? And you'll go into mode, right? But not the way I do it, right? You got a snap kick by me, you're on the ground for minimum 5 to 10. I mean, if you get up in 5 minutes, you are a monster and you have no nuts, right? Yeah, there's only one guy one time. I'm like I said, not many people deserve it. But those who do, really do. But there was one guy, man, I swear to God, he must have had the tiniest nuts ever, because he did get up within about 5 minutes. Right. But it didn't matter, because, his face was damaged too, because you say don't get away with just one. They have to take it a few, right? And they need to learn. And hopefully this does teach them. Sadly, like, I have an idiot brother who never learns, still thinks he can do violence. Man, are you retarded, dude? You're still retarded, aren't you? But no, I like it when those big fucking ugly baby Huey types threaten me, right? You see this big shit and grin go right on my face. And normally that's like, if all I usually have to do is stand them down, right? I'll just say, the voice flares up, motherfucker, right? No, let's go now, right? As soon as they see you flare up, they immediately their balls already suck up into their fucking body cavity, because it's the same with all these fucking retards, right? They've gotten by on their big fat baby Huey bullshit. People say, oh, he's big. Big doesn't mean strong. Never does. Never does. Hardly ever does. Not a hard and fast rule. You can see fat guys sometimes, seen them drop people before, but these are people that probably were in shape at one point. And they were retards who took steroids. Once you take those steroids, fuck, brain shot. But yeah, I'm not trying to brag or anything like that. It's just fucking tiring, right? Tiring. And I remember, point in case, there was one fucking baby Huey motherfucker. One of the very first baby Huey bitches that I had to take out, right? And he was too. He was a huge motherfucker, right? We were little kids. This fucker was like 20 something, right? 25, 24, 25. Huge motherfucking 280 fucking pound motherfucker, right? And this dude fucking yoked too, right? But he's simple folk in the brain, right? Fucking they ain't got it. They ain't got it. They think they should have it because they're mostly right, but they don't have the temperament. Have that bad temper. They can't see red. And little fuckers like us who can are their worst nightmare. Fuck, I learned this shit from some of the other fisher kids, right? Fucking seeing the first time I saw this little guy, Marty. Oh my God. Ugh. We fucking dropped this big ass motherfucker too, right? Just fucking one crack across his jaw, right? Crack. He just waited for the dude to turn right into it, right? He was sitting there waiting for it, right? As soon as the guy turned and looked at him, it was just, as soon as he turned, fucking he was right. Connected, crack. And it sounded like a slap, right? But that fucker just went, oh, shit. Face all fucked up in a slumped to the ground. Couldn't get back up, right? He's struggling there. Now he's going to get kicked in the face next, but Marty's classy. He's too classy for that. He just wanted to drop the dude, right? And fuck, half the weight of the dude, right? That was like, that's how you do it, motherfucking, right? But I was such a scrawny kid. I didn't rely on a punch. I always had to, you either got kicked in the nuts or in the face, right? One of the two. And if I didn't feel like I had the perfect target on your nads, it was going right to your fucking jaw, baby. Boom. Just the perfect spot, too. Just the perfect spot. You get kicked in the fucking jaw, man. You know what that feels like. Never happened to me. Never. But I've inflicted a few of them, and God, they don't look pretty, right? Especially if their mouth is open slightly and their teeth slam shut. There was one kid caught the tip of his tongue, man. He was fucked. Yeah, this scream, the high pitched scream, right? Blood. Yeah, you don't forget that shit. Why am I talking about violence? It sucks. Going back to this guy with the tools. And this guy is really, really cool. He talks about this writing thing. I'm going to give a spoiler alert on it. It's not as dramatic. And we're going to cut down to this tools at the end. Also, this cortisol part is really interesting. So let's hit that. And then I'll probably wind it because I didn't really plan on doing this. I just wanted to share this experience that I had with this because, like I said, one listen and it's already helping me. And I'm going to tell you what I came up with on my own as an idea after we get roll through it. So thanks for sticking with me, Kristen. Awesome. And here we go. Let's do it.
Again. Now I'd like to take a moment and consider some of the tools that you can access that support healthy transitioning through grief. And these are tools distinct from that neural map, that space-time closeness attachment map that we were talking about before. Rather, it's important to remind ourselves that everything exists in a context of our baseline physiology. And I'm certainly not going to be the first or the last to tell you that everything in life, learning, relationships with people that are still around, our health in every way, immune system, et cetera, function far better when we're sleeping really well and when we are generally awake during the daytime and asleep at night. I realize there are shift workers out there, people who are traveling and are jet lagged. First of all, thank you, shift workers. We rely on you. We have an episode all about jet lag and shift work for you and for trying to maintain the best possible mental and physical health in the face of ongoing shift work and jet lag. You can find that episode on our website, hubermanlab.com. Lots of behavioral tools, some other tools as well. Nonetheless, human beings are diurnal. We were really designed to be awake mostly in the day and asleep at night. There are rare exceptions to this where people like to stay up late and sleep in late, but we are a diurnal species by way of our genetic wiring and our neural circuit wiring. There's a particular feature to our diurnal, and diurnal meaning the opposite of nocturnal, our diurnal pattern of the release of a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone, it's sometimes called, but cortisol has a lot of other effects, many of which are positive. Cortisol, for instance, protects us.
Also, side note here, cortisol produced in copious amounts through the cold water exposure as well, right? And so this is why I also like what he was talking about here too. Cortisol, of course, is going to go to your injuries and it's going to help heal them. And it's like a painkiller and all that too, right? And so very good. And I always notice that too. When the summer, when I'm getting in the creek and dipping all the time, everything feels much better, right? No joint pain, nothing like that, right? It's all so good. And so he's also talking about using the tool of producing cortisol, right? So really another great spot here with Andrew Huberman, right? Guy is, like telling you, like this guy, very smart.
Against infection. It can help us in terms of waking up in the morning. In fact, the pulse, as it's called, or the spike in cortisol early in the day is part of the reason we wake up. It's linked to our increase in temperature rhythms and can further increase our temperature, which leads to waking and so on. The typical pattern of cortisol in a healthy individual, and we really can say physically and emotionally healthy individual, is that cortisol is going to be somewhat high right around waking, and then is going to be highest, as it ever will be in the 24-hour period, about 45 minutes post-waking. Not exactly 45 minutes, but about 45 minutes. And then it will drop gradually such that by about 4 p.m. in the afternoon, which is actually when body temperature tends to start to drop as well, cortisol tends to be very low and then remains low in a healthy individual, such that at 9 p.m. it's very low, and throughout the night as we sleep, it's very low. In fact, spikes or pulses in 9 p.m. cortisol are a fairly reliable biomarker readout of certain forms of depression and chronic anxiety. This relates to the beautiful work of my colleagues at Stanford and Stanford School of Medicine, Dr. David Spiegel, who's been on this podcast, and Dr. Robert Sapolsky, who has also been on this podcast. There's a very interesting paper exploring the relationship between cortisol rhythms and grieving, in particular, complicated versus non-complicated grieving. Again, complicated grieving being the form of grieving that reflects a immense challenge of people moving through the grieving process such that it really needs to be dealt with, right? Again, grieving is healthy, but complicated grieving is a prolonged grieving and has other dimensions as well, hence the name complicated. The title of this paper is Diurnal Cortisol in Complicated and Non-Complicated Grief, Slope Differences Across the Day. And the figure to orient to in this paper, if you do decide to check it out, and we'll put a link to it, is figure 1, which beautifully shows, or I should say very clearly shows, that in individuals that are experiencing complicated grief, there's the same general contour of high cortisol upon waking, even higher about 45 minutes after waking, and then a reduction in cortisol by 4 p.m. and even further reduction by 9 p.m. So just as it were in a typical individual or somebody who is in non-complicated grieving. However, when you compare the cortisol levels between people experiencing complicated grieving versus non-complicated grieving, what you find is the 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. cortisol levels are significantly higher than they are in the non-complicated grieving group. This raises a very interesting idea and relates very closely to what we were talking about with vagal tone. You could imagine a situation in which people who are experiencing complicated grief have higher levels of afternoon and nighttime cortisol because they are in complicated grief. But you could also imagine the opposite, that they're experiencing complicated grief because of the fact that they have elevated cortisol. Now, it's very likely that it's bidirectional, that the answer isn't one or the other, but both, that complicated grief changes patterns of cortisol and that patterns of cortisol change the likelihood that one has complicated grief. That's the most logical interpretation of data like these. However, when taken along with the data on vagal tone, that people who have a higher level of vagal tone are better able to navigate situations that of the sort that we're talking about.
Once again, I mean, just isn't it just clicking? I mean, vagal tone, breathing, right? Like they always say, take it easy, take a breath, right? I mean, holy shit. I mean, it does too. And a lot of stuff clicked in my mind too here. We're going to listen to just a bit more. And then I want to tell you about the notes that I made with this. And I mean, you go listen to this whole podcast if you ever get a chance, because all this area in the middle, there's a lot of good stuff in there. But these tools right here, right? The whole sleep thing, I mean, it just clicked in my head too, right? This is always my problem, right? I can never get enough sleep. It doesn't matter. I can only average about 5 hours, and 7 is like freaking, that's mad sleep for me, right? And so I have to stay up till after, midnight, usually even on a work night, because if I go to sleep any earlier, I'll wake up in the middle of the night. If I fall asleep and I got home from work, man, I'll be up at midnight, right? But even if I just fall asleep for like 20 minutes, it's just a nightmare. Even if you just nod out for a second, it's going to screw up my whole sleep cycle. And this is why I have to force myself to stay awake until it's late enough to go to sleep. And so that way I can sleep right until I have to get up, instead of waking up at 3 or 4 or 5 in the morning, right? It's just something that I've had to deal with my whole life. And so when he started talking about being short on sleep and how it's going to prolong your grieving period, right? I was just like, oh, that's it. And so I got to try to get more into a sleeping rhythm, so to speak, and start to try some of that down and out and shit that I bought from InfoWars and I never take, right? Anyway, we'll finish up here. Come forward here, and we're gonna listen to this guy just a little bit more. And I want to talk to you about what I'm coming up with on my own, and because it's time that I have to tackle this shit and move on.
That it's painful to look at, sunlight or otherwise. If you live in an area of the world where there isn't a lot of sunlight, please keep in mind that sunlight coming through cloud cover is going to still be a very effective mechanism
Sun gazing
for establishing this cortisol rhythm. Why do I say this thing about sunlight over and over and over again? Well, having an early day cortisol peak and a very low cortisol level late in the day, 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. is immensely beneficial. It reflects a properly regulated autonomic nervous system. It means being alert during the day, and your ability to sleep at night is quite tightly correlated to this viewing of sunlight in the morning. If you have additional questions about this or these protocols, please see our Mastering Sleep episode, also at hubermanlab.com. But in brief, you don't want to wear sunglasses when you do this.
I'm so going to watch that. But I remember this too, because when I first got into this whole sun gazing thing, right, it just regulates you really well. And you do get a lot of energy from it. And of course, like he's saying, don't wear sunglasses, or think you're going to look through a glass window or something like that. No, it's directly the sunbeam, the continuous light ray of the sun that comes from it, the massive energy directly into your body through your eye, right? And not just hitting your eye, it's going, your body is ingesting that pure energy of the sun, right? And everything, think about it for a second, because everything you consume is basically just processed sunlight, right? A plant, what does it do? It takes sunlight and grows, right? And so you're just eating the sunlight, basically, what the plant created, the sun energy you're consuming with the freaking animal meat, right? What did they eat? A bunch of plants, usually, or whatever, everything's just converting sunlight. And so you can get your energy levels way higher if you just go straight to the source. And so that's like, if you don't know how to do it, you find a few videos on it very easy. I can explain it very easily. Only do it during daylight or dawn, or when the sun is the lowest, right? Whether it's setting or coming up. Those are the only two times that you can sun gaze. So this is why not a lot of people can do it. I can't do it here during the winter. You got no fucking sun, right? Then come up till you long after work, right? But in the summertime, man, we get those long sunsets where you can really just consume a lot of that light. And so normally too, like I like to sit by the woods, right, where you can actually get a few leaves between the sun and your eyes too, right? Dampen the intensity of it, but still be consuming that pure energy, right? Pure infinite energy. And so and then I know this sounds funny, right? Make sure that you're looking with the proper eye, right? Hey, sure you got both eyes, right? No, remember I told you a secret long time ago. One of them transmits, one of them receives. Quick freaking, let's have a quick refresher, Kristen. Which one is which? See if you remember. Which eye is the transmitter? Which one is the receiver? Yeah, you got 50-50 chance if you guess. But let's see what you get. And let's continue to listen to my homeboy here. My new homeboy. Dude, really have much respect for this gentleman.
You do not want to do this through a window or a windshield. It is 50 times less effective, at least because of filtering of the proper wavelengths. It is fine to wear eyeglasses, meaning corrective lenses or contacts, even if they have UV protection. Again, sunlight is best, 10 minutes to 30 minutes, depending on how bright it is outside, and so on and so forth. I keep coming back to this protocol because, first of all, it is a zero cost, but very effective way to regulate things like cortisol rhythms, melatonin rhythms, wakefulness during the day, ease of falling asleep at night, and so on. And second of all, because I want to emphasize this idea of modulation. There are processes in our brain and body which directly mediate some psychological effect or physiological effect, right? Dopamine is directly involved in motivation. If you're somebody who struggles with motivation, your dopamine system is likely to be dysregulated in some way. And there are behavioral tools and other tools to adjust that. We had an episode on dopamine, motivation, and drive that talks extensively about those tools. However, the process of grief.
This is what gets me to talk about dopamine. Dopamine normally good, right? Dopamine good. No, not in this grief situation, right? Because it's just like, just like a shot of H. Not really, but you know what I mean. It's a drug too. And so I was sorry about hassling you. I can't remember, you might not have been around in that one. It's been a long time since I spoke on the whole eye thing. But yeah, this is why you can be protective of yourself. Okay, when you're looking at somebody else, right eye transmitting, left eye receiving, it's circular, right? So you can literally, this comes from that telegony bit, right? This is how you have superior children, is that you, figure out what characteristics you want your child to have, both parents do. Talk it over, tell, okay, we want them to be X amount of feet tall, do this, do that, have this type, be able to play piano, blah, blah, blah. You can literally do this, right? People will laugh. Doctors go, oh no, but they say they can genetically modify it with a bunch of needles and shit and make that happen. But no, you can't do it yourself by talking. But even still, in the lovemaking process, right eye transmit, left eye receives, doing that whole thing during that while you're making a child, right? And you make these super children, super babies. Well, the first thing I thought of too was, I'm not going to be looking at anybody in that circular motion. That's why I always look at them with my right. If I'm looking at them with my right eye, I will cross over and look at their left eye. So that way I'm not receiving any of their shit, right? Protective of yourself. Another reason why hair grows down over the eye, right? You think it'd make more sense to cover the receiving eye, but I like to cover the transmitter myself, but either indoor. And so, but I hardly ever look at somebody in that circuit like that and look with your left eye to their right or whatever, or even just look at their nose or something, right? But just try not to make that circuit because you're going to be protective of yourself. There's too many crazy fuckers out of there, right? You don't want to be getting their info. And so, but it makes a big difference. And also, if you're going to do something like solo, which you can, it's called a mirror chant, right? Where you look at your reflection in the mirror and you flip, the reflections flip. So you're actually left eye, right eye, right eye, left eye, right. And so it does work in the mirror chant situation, something I haven't done for a long time, but that's another way to build your personal power, such as the breathing method that I spoke about in the hatred series, right? Hating weakness. Man, that one started out okay, but plummeted now, didn't it? Nobody watched those. Sad. All my best advice. Okay. We'll finish up here, and I'm going to tell you what my idea is. I know, dragging it on. We're almost an hour in. That'll be about enough. 12:35 a.m. for me here. Saturday night. Don't have to get up early. No work tomorrow. I think I'll probably finish cleaning, go drop off all that stuff to my bro, and probably do some DoorDash or something like that. And stay out of the house for a little bit. But I have been working on um, not only the Good, the Bad, and Ugly movie, but I just had this other idea that's just been consuming me, right? Fuck. Sad part about the stallion thing, right? But it's that Bigfoot story I was telling you about. One that was on that podcast about the Bigfoot and Dogman working in tandem to attack these hunters and them just barely escaping with the fucking by the skin of their teeth, right? And why? How did they get away? Power of prayer, baby. And you'll see that shortly. About halfway through with it, and it's really coming out really freaking. I mean, I'm surprised considering how I always have to play everybody, but I made a multiple different costumes and did different accents and stuff like that, different voices, and it's a bit better than most of them for some reason. I don't know why, but I can imagine if I took this thing and put it into the AI, it would probably really be sick, right? I could literally um, physically change the characters as well. But it's coming out really sick, and I've actually changed it up, of course. You know me, and yeah. I think we talked about this one on here. I think somebody actually in the group turned me on to this story. It was in the Paranormal Roundtable, right? And even though it took forever for them to spit the story out, it was still very compelling. And the thing that got me the most, yeah, Land Between Lakes. You're right, 100%. The two cops, and one of them died. Harry. I still use that name, even though he used it. It's a fake name, of course, but I still use that name in it too, right? And I changed it up there in Alaska, and um, here's the good twist, right? Because in that story, they remember how they spoke about that giant metal door sound, right? The dungeon door, as I always looked at it. Yeah, that's tied into here, and literally tied into the point where you see the secret military experiment that they're doing. Suffice to say, that's a dead giveaway enough, isn't it? But I mean, I just had this idea when I was listening to it, and I was like, man, if I ever get a chance to make something like that. And I kept thinking, no, I need more actors, blah, blah, blah. And I ain't thinking that way anymore, right? And then you can find all these free green screen assets. And while I was doing that We Ran one, there was enough, well, the werewolf ones can pass as dogmen, right? And there's enough, Bigfoot dogmen on the free green screens to pull this off, even though, they don't make a lot of movements, right? But I don't really have to. They just have to show up, and a couple of them get shot. All they have to do is run and stuff like that, right? I can make them do everything else. And so I changed it up a little bit, made it a little bit more interesting, a little more digestible, we'll say. And then also, had to change it enough to where, even though it's based on that story, it's not a word for word verbatim or anything like that. And the add-on of the military guys is like the coolest part, right? Because they actually, they questioned the dude. The dude, had no idea that they're the guys literally behind their attack, right? You don't know that till the end either, right? Except I just gave it away. Damn it! I'm just playing. No, it's a pretty cool little yarn, right? And so I liked it. I literally have like all these different costume pieces out, right? And the shoot it out part is, of course, going to be the funnest part of it. And that's just where I'm getting to right now. I'm just getting past finally the boring part. About 14 or 15 minutes in, I'll pop that a little bit of it up at the end so you can see it and get a little taste for it. And yeah, just like Chris is saying, yeah, metal door sounds. Others have mentioned that too. And being a portal sound, who knows? Yeah. Remember the guy, Missing 411, the guy who does that. Pilatus or whatever, right? He talks about that too, right? And so people disappearing without a trace. Yeah, you know what? That's what's happening. Secret underground, deep underground military base dumbs with the same thing that's happening in Skinwalker Ranch. Exact same thing. This is why you see those shitty, stupid TV shows on there, right? Because they're showing those fucking retards all doing their stupid things, and they're never going to show the real truth on that. Of course, fuck. You think TV's for fucking anything other than deception? Come on. Of course, anybody in my room knows this, but this is why I used to get excited. Like, oh, they're gonna do Skinwalker Ranch, and there's retard doing retard thing. Right? Anytime they get close to scratching the surface on anything, boom, they send them into another area of the ranch and say, hey, go look at this fucking dead cow. Right? It's a fraud. It's a fraud. And just like everything on TV, I mean, even all that whole, I've heard lately that all the fucking those fake ghost shows are all falling apart too now, right? I mean, right? And I've talked about this for a long time. The fucking funny fucks. They stumble into shit. That's all they can do. And then, what's that fucking, even those YouTube kids, man, fuck those little fucking retards, right? I mean, the only reason why people are watching these shows is so they can see these little cunts cry and whine and piss and moan and get scared. Oh, I'm so fucking scared. Ah. Fuck, I used to sit there I was watching it. It's like, logically, you look at them and say, wow, if they really are that scared, you'd think they'd stop going to the goddamn haunted house and cry like cunts, right? No, because that's their shtick and that's what they're doing. It's all a fraud. Right? Especially those little kids on YouTube. Man, the most sane paranormal show ever. Yeah, every one of them. You look at all you have to do is look at the cover of fucking thumbnail, and they're just tears running down their eyes, right? Yeah, great. Let's watch fucking couple little cunts cry. Gee, that's exactly what I want to do. No, I'm out, right? And none of them have any evidence or anything like that. And you see their preview. This time on fucking Little Puss 1 and Puss 2. Right? It's fucking hilarious, right? They even had this one show, oh my God, the stupidest fucking one ever, right? It was back when Cynthia and I were doing that paranormal thing, right? And we're always looking up in the new fucking paranormal show, right? And the only one, okay, mad respect for John Zaffis, the haunted collector. That guy's legit. Real McCoy right there. That's why they don't have it on TV anymore, right? Just way too fucking real. And that fucker was literally collecting the haunted pieces and binding them and shit like that, right? Fuck, dude, that dude, man, mad respect for that guy. And he's got a real haunted museum, not like that faggot Zach Baggins sucking demon cock, because that's all he does, take it up the ass from the demons. Fucking little fag boy. Ugh, makes me sick. He's another one of those guys who work out muscles, man. Lights out, Zach, you little cunt boy, right? And anyway, they're all fucking getting found out for the frauds they are. It's hilarious. There was one time, though, I do have to admit, that one time that one of the dudes, the side dudes on that show, this guy's kind of into demonology, he tried to do a fucking a Solomonic ritual, right? He obviously read the Key of Solomon, and he tried to do that. And as soon as I saw that, man, we were like, I go, whoa, he's fucking up here, because he actually tried the experiment and didn't close it right. Fucking this retard show. But that's it. The most stupidest show that we saw was one called Ghost Bait, right? Ghost Bait. You fucking how stupid that sounds, right? And they had this fucking dude who got scared at his own shadow, right? Fuck, they put him in the immersion in the complete darkness, which you never do, right? Don't do that. It's stupid, right? Always have a fucking sublight on. Right? Don't just wander around in the fucking complete blackness. None of that. I mean, you could do that for an experiment if you're just going to sit solo in a room for 20, 30 minutes, whatever, right? Yeah, sure. Go pitch black. But not fucking trying to wander around a basement, right? So they'd have this fucking retard, fucking this little ball-headed fucking, looked like a fucking turd, right? Literally fucking, and they let him wander around in the blackness. Of course, they're filming in infrared, so it looks like broad daylight to the viewer, right? And he'll just be walking around and he'll go, ah, and he'll just scream for no reason, right? Because he gets scared, right? Ah, ah, ah. The whole fucking show is this fucking little cunt screaming and sometimes crying, right? And it's just like, and that's when I realized, I was like, the only reason why people are watching this to watch this fucking, it's comic relief. They're watching this retard cry, right? That's the whole thing they're watching for. They're not watching for any ghosts. Fucking watch this retard. And it was so funny because it was super duper popular on the tube that's made for the tube. It's made for Juby-doo-doos, right? But they tried to translate it onto fucking cable. Oh, fuck, man. It's so funny when they try to do that, right? YouTube's different than fucking cable, man. It just bombed in fucking flying colors. So hilarious, right? Because we watched one of it, and even Cynthia was like, this is retarded, right? And then one time we were flipping around on the TV because we used to watch TV back then, right? This was a long time ago, a decade ago. You could still get away with it. And we're flipping along, and all of a sudden, what? Ghost bait? It's on fucking cable? We just fucking laughed our asses off. Fuck, they fucking put that shit. This is how fucking stupid the Jews are, right? And they had they even had that little fucking turd fucking ball-headed freak. They even had a hairdresser do the 3 hairs he has left on his head, right? It's fucking blonded him out and shit. It's fucking, I was like, dude, that's so retarded. Anyway, it was hilarious. And so let's finish up with this guy. Oh, who do we got? D-High, StreamYard link. Want to drink and hang out. NVM. I'll maybe try back later. Maybe, yeah. Try back later. Not sure who you are yet. Had a little bad experience in throwing the link out to people that I don't know before we've come on and started, talking mad shit. But stick. Throw me a few more comments. Tell me what you're about. Tell me what you want to talk about, and we'll see about it. But we're gonna finish up with this Huberman Lab Podcast 74, dealing with grief, because that's exactly what I'm going through, and this has some good tools in it that are going to help you cope with that, and it's been already helping me as well. So here we'll continue.
Can't be distilled down to one molecule, one circuit, such that we can say, oh, take this supplement or eat this diet or exercise in the following way, and you'll recover from grief more quickly. It's simply not the case. It is the case, however, that proper sleep at night sets the foundation for the proper emotional tone to be able to navigate physical, psychological, and other types of challenges. And not incidentally, sleep at night, I should say sufficient duration and quality of sleep at night, is the way in which you engage neuroplasticity, the reordering of neural connections. And everything we've been talking about today, about reordering of the maps in your mind, this tripartite 3-part map of space, time, and closeness, involves neuroplasticity, the reconfiguring of connections between neurons, strengthening certain pathways and not strengthening others, actively trying to disengage from the what if, right? This counterintuitive thinking, actively trying to disengage from the expectations that someone will be there. Although when you find yourself doing that, understanding why it's so reflexive and normal to do that. Actively trying to lean into the real attachment to somebody, animal, or thing, and yet at the same time, not deluding yourself and undermining the whole process of grieving by trying to imagine that they are in fact still truly there, right? It's a very narrow knife edge of a process, which is why it's so challenging. Regulating your cortisol rhythm through viewing sunlight early in the day, and I should also say avoiding bright lights from artificial sources in the evening, generally 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., but certainly in the evening, trying to dim lights in your immediate environment, trying to avoid bright screens, bright artificial lights as much as possible, and accessing that deep sleep. That's modulating. It's setting an overall autonomic state, or an overall autonomic landscape would be the better way to describe it. That's going to allow you to sleep and get neuroplasticity, sleep and be in the best emotional state to navigate the grieving process, because it's only fair to say that the grieving process as we're describing it is hard. And not just because it's emotionally hard, it's cognitively hard. You just think about what's required to move through grief properly, if you will. It's thinking about and actually physically experiencing the depth, the full depth of the attachment to the person, while at the same time trying to uncouple from that rich menu, that catalog of episodic memories that can date back many, many years and have so much richness, so many predictions form on the basis of those episodic memories, and actively trying to distance ourselves from those memories by being very anchored in the fact that we are present. We are the person alone in that room, or in some cases with a bereavement group in that room, or with other people that are mourning the loss of that individual animal or thing. And that knife edge of feeling the intense attachment while also disengaging from all the things that led to that attachment, well, it's understandable why that would be so challenging. And it should also be understandable why positioning yourself to be able to do that in the best possible way requires proper sleep. So what are the tools that we can think about using in terms of healthy, adaptive moving through grief, trying to avoid complicated grief and prolonged grief disorders? I realize that word disorder implies all sorts of things, but again, those are just naming categorizations that people come up with that I think fairly reflect the fact that some people have more challenge moving through grieving than others. And for some people, it can be very extended. I think the common misunderstanding is that proper grieving involves moving through something quickly. We're certainly not saying that. However, it is very clear that some people can get stuck. And that process of getting stuck, you should now understand, has a lot to do with maintaining or reactivating those episodic memories, those expectations of where somebody will be in space and time.
Boom. I mean, wow. I mean, like I said, this guy, very impressive. I mean, everything says making so much sense. Yeah, for me, it was, where I found my mom, right here in this room. Very spot that I'm getting used to again. Okay. And that was doing a lot of, keeping the whole grieving process going, was this constant, not being prepared and coming in here or, something of that matter. Because for the last 2 years, of course, I cooked every meal for us, right? And mealtime was a big trigger too. That's why I wasn't eating for so long, right? Very unhealthy. But I'm doing fine now, right? I'm eating much better now. But I mean, that was always sit down. How can you eat while you sit there just boo-hoo, right? And I've done it. I've forced myself to, but it just takes every bit of enjoyment out of any type of meal, right? And so this is another reason why I literally started sitting on the other side of the table. Everything changed. Everything. Took all the fucking pictures off the fridge. Changed cleaning this fucking house, transforming it from the fucking because pretty much a fucking sty, right? Sadly, I love my dear mother, but I mean, this house has always been a nightmare. And now there's fucking pool table in the basement. Like there'd ever be room for that. But anyway, we're gonna finish this the last bit. I think this is the last bit. We could probably pretty well finish it, hang it there. But if you do have a chance, do go in and listen to this Science and Process of Healing from Grief. Pop back up on screen here, and you can see this is what they call the Huberman Lab. Andrew Huberman, 4.79 million subscribers, right? And there's a reason for it. I mean, it's the very first fucking video I've ever heard. Never even heard of this guy before tonight, but literally impressed, super impressed. And if you look down here in his write-up, there's a bit that I'm going to do here afterwards, and it's there's a lady who he mentions during the podcast, very smart woman right here, Dr. Frances O'Connor, her grief studies, right? You can literally fill out one of these things, and they're going to tell you whether you have complicated or non-complicated grieving and stuff like that, and give you some feedback, right? You can literally get some feedback, but here's all the little layers of it. I mean, wow. I'm going to watch this one again, of course, too. This vagal tone's worth watching. They're talking about the different things that cortisol and stuff like that. Adrenaline's mentioned in here and whatnot. See, complicated grief and adrenaline, and a lot of great stuff in here. And it doesn't just have to be about somebody passing either, right? There's other things that can be, homesickness, things like that of that nature. Lose a pet, same kind of thing, right? And so grieving can be a relationship breakup, right? And so this is definitely one worth looking into. And I'm going to fill out this thing for her. This is a study she's doing. The lady here, as I showed, Mary Frances O'Connor. Right here is the link. And I'm literally going to go in and fill out this thing because she's doing this. After she gets so many people to fill this out, right? And know a bit about it. And I never expected that I would be going through this even this long too. It's almost 2 years, right? And come on. I mean, it's like remember Farm Girl right away was saying, hey, remember she told me, your mom would not want to see you sad. She says, none of us moms do. None of us want to see our kids sad. So, you should be rejoicing, right? And I even wrote that in the lyrics, the poem, right? Even though I keep hearing your voice telling me I should rejoice, right? It's just hard to shake it. And so now finally, instead of doing the things that I've been doing, which I've been working, right? Like coming up, moving in here and doing this, that kind of thing. I found this guy much better tools on how to, cope. And love the way he mentioned the sun gazing. When he said that, I was like, dude, yeah, I'm a boy, right? Because I'm like a broken record with the boosted immune system thing, right? And so he is. Okay, so here's what I take away from it myself. Now, I mean, in my notes here, he talks about, the body chemistry and the brain neurons firing, all that shit. You'll get that if you're in there. But it's always in the simplest things, right? It's always in the simplest part, the simplest sentence. Okay. Right. Top line here. Grief is directly related to closeness, right? And the closeness, not only can it mean, emotionally, like you're very close with them, but also the proximity, like you live with them, right? And it's like saying earlier, you live with somebody and they die, you're literally going to be more affected than somebody who lives 1,000 miles away, you know? Um, and that's how it was here for me too. Last 2 years, shit, used to be traveling all the time. I'd never stay here for the full year, and it was 2 full years in a row. Wow, right? And not only that, but those were good fishing years and everything, and it was all good. We were banking, both of us freaking putting out way more artwork than ever, making mad bank. It was just things were going to do good, right? And we're literally going to be able to build the geothermal greenhouse. We're on the freaking proper road to doing that. It's going to be able to do that very summer. Going to rent the backhoe, and I was going to dig that shit, and we're going to do it. Right? Literally have our own food farm here. Those fucking geothermal greenhouses. If you ever looked it up, citrus under snow. There's a bunch of them now. Not just the old guy doing it anymore, right? And those fucking things are enormous. Right? And it's a giant hole in the ground with some glass windows over the top of it, basically. And they grow way more food than you'll ever eat, way more food than even your whole family will ever eat. And not only that, but you can sell the surplus at a premium, especially in the middle of the winter when it stays 54 degrees year round in there, growing fucking anything you want. You can grow exotic fruits. I was going to have papayas and mangoes, all that shit. Still going to do it. But it would be done now, right? It would be growing now, right? Because those kits are $25K, and I could do the backhoe gigging myself. So that was anyway. Still gonna make it happen once I finally get titled to this place. Still gonna make it happen this month. I mean, I had the idea. It was mom decision to do it that I'm honoring, right? So I showed her, that she was like, she just loved the whole growing thing, the whole notion of it, right? And like having a freaking greenhouse that I was gonna attach it to the house so that way you wouldn't have to go outside in the winter. Just go from the house through the passageway right into the greenhouse. There's gonna be 2 sections of it because it's the lengthways you can if you have long enough, but our lot's long this way, not the sun way that we need it. So it's gonna be 2 sections. And so, but anyway, what I got from it too is a grief directly related to closeness and proximity. And I had both those, of course. Okay, but the weird idea I had now, Gabe, tell me what you think about this, Kristen. All right, I just had this idea of it might sound stupid, taking a picture, my mother's picture, and just every so many days, just start moving it further away from where I'm spending my time at. So it's just further and further away, further and further away. What do you think about that mechanism, right? And just thinking more about it than, mom's not dead, of course, her immortal being still alive. It's just further away, right? And so I start to try to think of it as maybe, okay, so she just went on a world trip. She's going to go around the world and just think of the circle of the earth in a spiral going out, getting further away, never to come back, right? But still there, not gone, but there and just further away. Literally take a picture and just slowly, incrementally, just move it back a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further, and try to trick my mind that way. I know it sounds weird, right? But gosh, I got to start working on some. I got to start working some tools. In this whole getting better sleep is obviously right. I do that one too, but it's so fucking hard for me to sleep, man. It sucks. I'm a super light sleeper. Fuck, I can't sleep through anything, man. It's been a hard thing for me to deal with my whole life, right? This fucking light sleeper bullshit. Oh my God, I've seen people sleep through everything, right? It's fucking so jealous, right? The only way I can usually ever sleep like that is if I get shit-faced drunk, and I don't, this just doesn't do it for me anymore. I can't even remember the last time I even had a buzz. I mean, sure, I drink, beers, but not enough to get to where I'm staggering or anything like that. I'm not even affected by it anymore, hardly, especially since I rebuilt my liver and shit. But anyway, the list goes on. Further back every week, right? Weird. But anyway, and then I talk about the notes of the sleep. I got to start getting back into the exercise routine and taking the supplements again. Hey, remember I went off them just to kick. So if in case I ever ran out, I wouldn't be cold turkey, right? Well, I've been just slowly taking them, and I'm still doing the Shilajit, of course, but time to get back on the whole fucking supplement train. And then I just start doing what I need to be doing around here as far as the inventory and stuff like that goes. Eventually got to be done. And even though the court can take their sweet time, I'm still going to have to be the one that does it no matter what. So start to get back onto that train. And, I'm starting to sell my shit. I found out my old snowboard's worth some money. Bert and Rippy. And so, and then, of course, I want to go back into working on my mom's writings and my grandpa's too. My mom's journal entries, her poems, her videos, and recorded stuff like that. Go back into that after I finish up with these little pet projects of mine. And and then, of course, I get back into the artwork thing. I haven't etched a piece of baleen in years. Time for me to get back onto that train. And pull back a little bit from these t-shirt type things, right? Get back into the cultural artwork. And then I got some other notes of shit I got to do around the house. But also I've been having this idea. I've digging through my shit, came up with seeing some of my old videos, right? The movie I made, or the short film I made for Two Spirits Gallery, where I interviewed all these guys that, like a dozen of them, successful, each one of them success in recovery, right? I mean, that doesn't happen. Right? Most treatment places, like the one I'm working at, success rates, well, as far as longevity goes, so they'll get through the program, right? Might have a 50-60% people get through the program, but afterwards, I don't think there's AA itself can't even get over 50%, right? Sure, they'll get years of it, but I've seen this before too, right? Those people that go completely off it and go to the program, once they finally do fall back off the wagon, they fall hard, and sometimes they don't survive, right? They are fucking 1,000 times worse than they ever were to begin with, right? Seeing it happen more times than not, and it would be in the gutter 10 times harder. And so I always looked at that as just that fucking whole program is just such a fraud. And there's only a few things that actually are successful. And they figured this out a long time ago, and so they just never do it, right? But directly related to your self-esteem, of course. And then not only that, the psychology on it is when you tell a grown man, "Don't do that," I'm telling you, don't do that, right? What the fuck's gonna happen? What the fuck's gonna happen, right? And when that's all they get told the whole time, day after day, fucking every hour on the hour, don't do that, right? And you're eventually gonna say, "Fuck you." You got to make up. You got to trick women to make up their own mind, and the whole thing is can't be a trick. So, what they figured out very quickly with Native Alaskans, which are a lot of them can be some extremely fucking bad alcoholics, right? Extremely bad, shirt front puking motherfuckers. And people literally die. They drink so much. Fuck, that's some dedication there, right? And so, but they found an enormous amount of success. I mean, dude, telling you right now, realignment of culture is it's over 70%, which is double anything else. But realignment with culture and also as a income, because that's what Alaska Native artwork can be, especially if you're good at it, you can make a lot of money. And so what they did was the Two Spirits Gallery, man, 12 fucking so super successful. I think they had almost 100%. It wasn't 100%. Every once in a while they get somebody who would fall off, right? And that's the only reason it kept them below the 100%. I think it was a strong 90, and that's never been done in any other thing ever. And what they did was they provided a private carving shop, right? Motherfuckers come, anybody straight up and off the street, fucking carve, and they had all this excellent tools and stuff for anybody to use. Anybody signed up, and they had a gallery to sell their shit, everything, the whole process, and it was fucking just insanely successful. And I got to interview a bunch of these guys, honored enough to be able to do that. And even one of my favorite guys, Moody, man, he passed away right after the movie was made. Oh my God. But we got him on camera, right? Immortalized him on that. So, but I dug that film out, and I'm going to drop it on the main boss over there and say, hey, man, because these are simple things. I see they get a lot of walkouts at this place, right? Happening all the time. And so, who wouldn't walk out and all you have to do is sit around and watch TV, right? Watch the fucking TV. Oh my God, giant TV in every fucking one of these places, right? Yeah. But I was going to throw that film on him and say, hey, man, I myself can teach a couple classes of art, drums and shit like that, all kinds of shit. And I know enough people where it could probably keep that fucking thing rolling, right? And not only does it give them something to do, but once again, once you add that fucking price tag on there, that monetary income, that's when everything fucking changes, baby. That's what happened to me. As soon as I started doing my artwork and getting paid for it, man, that's when everything changed. The big change for me happened then, right? And it wasn't just the fact that I got money for the piece of artwork. It was the fact that that person appreciated my art enough to dig fucking shekels out of the pocket and throw them down, right? That gives you such a level of self-esteem that you literally can't get anywhere except for, the hard day's work kind of thing, right? And there's nothing can compare to, even the hard day's work, man, that's just work, right? But when you make something of your own creation, of your own hands, and somebody goes, man, I'll pay you for that, right? That has a different level of satisfaction to your inner soul. And so you can't feel it until you've done it, right? I can't describe how it feels, but everybody says they're not artists, but everybody is artistic. Proved it when you were a kid. Most kids draw a lot, right? And so, it could be anything too, right? Even if you say you're a good mechanic and you rebuild an engine that everybody said couldn't be done, right? That will give you self-esteem, especially when somebody buys that fucking engine from you, or, something to that matter, something along those lines. But it's better if you literally generate and create the idea on your own. Imagine the self-esteem that these fucking gajillionaires get when they invent something that everybody buys, right? Boom. Just there's no substitute for that level of self-esteem that you get when you become a creator. So, hey, just like making a video that somebody pays for, right? But that Two Spirits Gallery film, it was in one of the Alaskan Border episodes. Maybe I'll isolate it and put it out there. I made $5,000 for that film, man. My first fucking, was it my first paid? I think it was. It was my first paid video production. And then there was another one down there. Catch Canada did a series of videos for this place, and I made about $7 or $8 grand on that one. It was scheduled for 10, but they ran out of budget money. Bam, bum out, right? So flash this guy right back on the screen one last time. I've already liked and subscribed. I'm going to do this little survey in there, and you can see it right here, Andrew Huberman, and they call it Huberman Lab Podcast, and you'll see it. It's right here on YouTube, and he is an advocate for getting this knowledge out there for free, right? For free, not pay an ungodly hospital bill or something like that. You're going to avoid it right here. Listen to this cool one, one of those one cool docs, right? That, yeah, they're rare. Not the Darth Vader fucking Nazi sorcerer doctor, but a good doctor. So, all right, take a look right here. Says FREAKIN'STEIN, that'll help a lot. Cleaning the place and making doors. Yes, it has. It has. Remember, I think the best I felt was when I first got the pool table and had it in here and just was playing pool down there, man. I was actually having fun that night. My buddy CD was in from out of town. There was my other buddy Andy was here, other people, and it was the closest to normal that I had felt, right? And as a matter of fact, I even noticed it after I was sitting there going, man, I thought about it. Am I actually having a good time, right? So, gotta transform her place to your place. Yep. Yeah, yep, exactly. Not even the shared place anymore either, right? Completely. I mean, this is why, you know what I've been saying, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I've been saying as soon as I took all that shit off the refrigerator, right, I just fucking literally scraped it off into a bag, and I didn't throw it away, right? Just toss it aside, right? End of an era is what I've been saying. Well, end of an era, baby, right? It's that era is over, and I did that again today with the silverware drawer, right? And man, that fucking place has been a nightmare ever since I've ever seen it. And I was sitting there and I was looking at it. I was like, what the fuck, man? So I just took a couple of shallow pots out and fucking pulled all the silver out and threw them in the fucking, start soaking it, right? Wash it, empty the whole thing out, threw all the way little plastic bread fucking holders mom hoarded, right? And even took out the freaking, I mean, some of the really cool tiles in there, but they're super old and filthy. Took all that shit out, and it already feels better, right? So 25K, damn it. I'd have to figure out a more primitive way. 25K, what were we talking about on that? I forget. And that's a good idea with the picture. Oh, the picture, yeah, the picture thing. Thank you. I think that will. I mean, it's like a little confidence game, right? Anything I can do, trick mind, man, trick mind into it. So, and because that was another thing that was hard right away, was cleaning up the house and finding. I mean, God, my mom must have saved every fucking ID card she's ever had, right? Because I found so many. I mean, there's a lot of pictures. I mean, just wow, right? And so, especially when I found something that I never seen before, right? It would just be straight waterworks, right? But fortunately, I've pretty much gotten through most all that. I know there's probably still a few hidden gems, and there always will be. But all right, let's wind it down here. I'm going to encourage you to go out there and boost that immune system, baby. And so what do you think, Kristen? You want to watch a little bit of this Bigfoot thing? We won't give it away for sure, but I'm just wondering if I can even share it on my, because it's all I have it is on in the program yet. I haven't exported anything. And so I'm not sure if I can even do it, but let's see what happens. Fuck, I'm not even sure how this will work. Let's see. No, I don't know if it's gonna work, but what we got: a slides, X camera, video file, or the share screen. Hold on a second. Select tab to share as Chrome. Let's go to the window. Oh, okay. Wait. I think I got it. It's going to take a little setup. Entire screen. I'll drop this down. I'll pull the other thing up. Let's see if it works. Let's see if it works. Hold on. Let me pull this thing off. Okay. All right. I'm going to try it. So, I think it's going to work. Bear with me for a second. And pretty sure it's going to work. But I just got to do it just right. We're going to go share screen. We're going to go to entire screen. Shit. Let's see how it goes. Here we go. Share. And now it's not going to work because this window's in it. Wait. Damn it. How's this going to work? I'm trying to figure it out. Let's see if I pull this window. Oh, okay. What the fuck's that doing up there? Okay, that might have been the problem. Pull this over to the half side. Wait, let's see. The actuator buttons are going to be on this side. And then we'll pull up. Got the idea going. Let's get this window a little smaller. It's got to have the present on it. And then, so I hit the present. It's a share screen. Get Final Cut Pro. Fuck. Right here, half screen it. Oh, this might work. Is it not? It's not quite gonna do it, is it? I don't think it is. Fuck. Let's see. No. To share audio, share a tab instead. Ooh. Ah ha. There it is. Okay, here we go. Y'all ready? Fuck, is it gonna work? Move this over. Okay. Shit. I hope it's working.
Okay, I'm informing you right now that I'm recording this conversation. Hey, it's all part of protocol. Hey, I didn't make the rules, I just followed them. Okay, sir. Just like you to take your time and tell us the whole story. Why don't you just go ahead and go on back before your friend got his issue? Okay. The EMTs assure me that he is just fine. So you about ready to tell your story yet? Yeah. tell you the whole fucking story, man. You ain't gonna fucking believe me anyway. Try me, I've heard some real doozies. But fuck it. I fucking don't believe it. Okay, here comes the captain now. I guess you can talk to him. Thank you, Lieutenant. Good evening, sir. Can I get high, man? I gotta smoke. So, you get weed? Yeah, right, it is legal. This is a free country. Whatever it takes to get you going. I suppose it's all right.
Is it working? I hope it's working.
Now, I understand your hunting partner had a medical condition. Well, everything started out fucked. Found out the fishing game closed our regular hunting area. Like 2 days before we were set to go. And so we drove south. Left Saldana towards home. I fell asleep on the drive, and when I woke up, we weren't anywhere near the fucking road. And I looked at Harry and said, "What the fuck, man? Where are we at?" "Oh, man, I was left to go an hour ago." "We got a fucking four-wheeler there?" He said, "Yeah, I think so." And I'm like, "Dude, what the fuck, man?" "Don't worry, I know where we're at. Yeah, my cousin told me there was some pretty good hunting up here." So now we're gonna fucking backtrack, get the hell out of here. Relax. Holy shit! What the fuck do you think we see right in front of us? Biggest fucking moose we've ever seen. And that's what he was fucking jumped out the deal. Shit, I'm just trying to wake up and get a shot off the fucking wipe the boogers out of my fucking eyes. I'm sure I missed. But Harry got it. It was definitely not a kill shot. It was fucking wounded. So we had to follow after it. "Yeah, I just saw him right over here." I could see the trail let off one way. I could see some blood. So we got to go this way. But he was convinced that he saw it in the other direction. "I just saw him run through those trees." And I'm like, "Dude, the blood." He goes, "It could fucking go anywhere." "Hey, they circle back all the time. Tell you, I saw him right over here." So, the blood, it goes right there.
Oh shit.
Fine. Follow the blood. So, rather than argue,
Fuck, I didn't know how to get out of it for a minute there.
here's blood.
All right, were you able to see it? God, I can't tell. Oh no, were we not able to see it? Were you able to see it? Yeah, the picture thing. Anybody? Fuck, I can't tell. Anyway, did you see it? Anybody? What, did it work? Did it work? I don't know if it worked or not. I couldn't tell because I wasn't able to see the screen. But that's like just part of the opening. Now we're starting to get into the hunter story where they're literally going to be out there, right? And they're talk about how, remember if you remember this story, they talk about how there's throwing sticks and shit at them at first, and then they're hearing that noise of the door opening. Oh, it worked good. And then fucking they're gonna, like, you saw them in the start, right? The fucking different Bigfoot Dogman teams, right? This is where I've changed it up. Literally fucking 3 different teams, 1 Bigfoot running per Dogman, right? And they're gonna coordinate the attack right on them, and it's gonna be a fucking sick little bit, man. I've been filming it, and remember how you remember how they talked about being hit with that fear, that fucking unnatural fear, which is obviously a fucking fear weapon, the vibrationary weapon they used on them. they're going to get hit with that too, right before it happens. And they're just going to you're going to see them. They're just going to freeze up, and their eyes are getting bulging, and the fucking dogmen Sasquatch teams are going to fucking be coming through the woods at them. It's going to be pretty fucking sick. And yeah, they're going to have a fucking firefight with these fuckers. It's going to be dope. Because they're cool ideas. I would follow the story as closely as possible, of course, right? Because they get a couple of them. They managed to score. They managed to take down, I think, a couple of the dogs, right? And it's going to be a good one. And then they're going to escape. Once they escape, they're going to meet up with these to tell their story to the guys that they're talking to right now, the military dudes, right? And little they know these are the motherfuckers that are literally running the program, right? So it's kind of cool little twist. So you'll see it. It's definitely coming together. I've been fucking with it for a few days now, and I think I have pretty much everything shot on the green screen. I might have to. The only thing I have to look up is a moose, right? That's the only thing that's missing is the moose. The moose that they have to slam on the brakes for, and that they don't get, right. But it's a funny little. There's some funny dialogue in it. Maybe some cool bits. I still don't know how I'm going to pull off a couple of them, but this is a cool story. It's intrigued me, right? And yeah, you go see the whole rollout of the military fucking experiment, right? They got those. They have them all cordoned off, and then they're going to open the fucking metal doors and deploy the fucking dogmen, right? Walking the dogman. I don't know. I might change it to wag the dogman, right? But walking the dogman is what it's called. And you can see that Sasquatch dogman team, interdimensionaries. So anyway, all right, we'll wind it down. Thanks for joining on this surprise stream. Hey, guess what? I got Saturdays off now, so Saturday might be our new day. Come back again. I might be able to start doing that 420 Saturday cast again. I know I was going to do it today, but I was just so wrapped up in everything that I was working on. I was like, you know what? Not only that, but I was really feeling emotional at that moment. And so I was like, I gotta skip for the moment. But I'm telling you, man, this just what I've done today has helped immensely. I know that now I've got some tangible things to do. And so big love. I'm going to encourage you to boost your immune system now. You can go right on this channel and find the videos that I made all about it. And, even if you can even just bring yourself to do one step of the plan, right? One step. If that step be water, then you're going to do one hell of a lot for yourself. And so water being the biggest, in my opinion, the biggest factor in everybody's failing health, everybody on this earth, because everybody walks through life dehydrated because the municipal water that most people are drinking is the molecular structure is so jumbled that you cannot absorb it, and you might as well not even be drinking it, right? Because it's bringing toxins and delivering those toxins to every part of your system. So what the fuck, right? That's why some people do better literally drinking soda pop. As garbagey as that sounds, right? As insanely garbagey as that sounds, fucking some municipal water worse for you than soda. Believe it. Especially that shit with chloramine in it. A good example of that is one that always amazes me. My cousin Doug, right? Older than me. He's the oldest of all the cousins, right? And he's the one who's the most successful. Corporate guy, never freaking drank, never smoked, hot dog skier, karate instructor, fucking badass. He's the closest that we had to Mr. Hollywood, right? Except for myself, which I blew my chance by not sucking Satan's dick. But now, Mr. Man, he used to come and show up down at our fucking low income housing in his fucking Roadrunner, right? Badass muscle car. Always had one. Now he's got these cherry ass fucking bikes, badass fucking shit. But he's got an idea that, and not say anything about it till it's set, but this is going to be something, right? Something big. And that's all I'll say about it. It covers a lot of ground. That's the clue I'll give you. He was the one who wrote the screenplay for our cousin Pius, who was in Spirit of the Wind and also in White Fang, right? Pius was the actual Hollywood star. So he was one who wrote the screenplay for the film they were going to do afterwards. But it's a great idea. It was too, man. Pius was going to play this bull rider, right? In a boxer too, right? Boxer bull rider dude. And I remember reading that, and before I understood what screenplay format was, I remember he showed it to me and I read it and I liked it, right? But I could already tell that it was an unfinished story. It was a beginning and a middle and no end. And I've recently dug it out because it's still here, right? Everything's still here. And I read it again and I was like, fuck. I remember how good this was, but just needed more. It just needed an end, and it needed a metaphysical / mythical element to it, and it could have, that was really a cool story. What's hilarious though is the reread, I saw that my cousin even he had a character name, guess it, Mike Hunt. I was like, fucking can't believe you fucking put Mike Hunt in there. You find out, I would do a little bit better wordplay than that. But what I was telling him, I pitched him, we add a supernatural element to it. Like we got to pull back, revise the boxing element of it, and make that more of the overarching desire than the bull riding one, right? And it would have worked. But as it is, I mean, he was using that as a vehicle at the time, and they actually had budget going for it and shit, man. It was so close to being made. But you know how that is. We might still have something to pull out our sleeve here pretty quick. So, all right. It's as close as I can give away. They always say that too, right? And it's another thing that I've learned. You never talk about your plans too much until they're like usually done, right? All right, big love for everybody. Thanks so much for joining. Shit, 2 hours. We did it. Have a great day at work, everybody. If you're working, have a great day at home. If you're not, New Year this year. This is going to be it's going to be an interesting one. You can already see that they're pulling their fucking frauds and their predictive programming way out of the hat now with all this fake Epstein Island bullshit. You know what that's going to cause? Fake alien invasion. Because what do you think they're pushing? You heard that they even that news story. Oh, aliens in Brazil now. Yeah, 10-footers. So is that what we're going to have to endure? I think so. But I think it's also going to be a combo of the cyber attack, which, Russian hackers, of course, that's an easy one. And then currency collapse. They might have, I'm thinking, even just one of those alone would be enough. But the blackout, cyber attack, currency collapse, along with, fake war, yeah, that'd do it. And so I have an event that I'm going to try to hit next week. I haven't been to anything in a while. I haven't filled anything for a while, but there is a meeting they're having on what they call the access road. Going to start right over here at Point McKenzie, right in my fucking backyard, right? And this is the access to the minerals road that I've been talking about for a while, that I've been predicting, and now it's happening. And they're going to have a public comment bit on it in Anchorage on Thursday. We'll try to get in there and throw a camera on it and film it and then put it up on the wherever, right? And try to get some more awareness to it. And this thing will cross I think the count's like 153 salmon streams, right? I mean, it's just And you know how they build these fucking roads. If they build anything like the fucking one they built out here that I have to drive on every fucking day. I don't know how to get away with this shit, right? And so, no, I'm gotta bring as much awareness and make as much noise on this as I can. So I know it's going to happen. I know that we're not going to stop it. But if we can at least put enough pressure on, that it might be at least built with some quality, right? All right, big love, everybody. Get out there and have some fun too, right? I know I got to take my own advice. I'm going to do that too. And one other piece of advice is don't fucking leave mean comments on people's fucking YouTube channels and attack fucking cool people that are just trying to fucking help you out. And I know that the fucking person I'm talking to is not watching because I blocked him. But who knows? Might have some other faggy account that he can watch on. But hey, if you're listening, Winwar, shut your fucking cunt hole. All right? You fucking ugly hillbilly son of a bitch. You think who the fuck you think you are, right? You fucking Kool-Aid drinking motherfucker. Fucking alky motherfucker who can't fucking even eat one piece of oxy powder to save your life. Dude, that's why I can't have respect for you. You can't respect yourself, right? Fucking laid out all the tools for everybody. And you just refuse over and over again to do anything. You always have some fucking faggy, sorry fucking cunt of an excuse. Oh, I can't do that because my doctor, fuck. But finally, it's fuck you, buddy. All right? Don't come back. We don't need it. And Joey's one of our fucking favorites. He's a fucking cool guy. I never fucking heard a fly. And the way you fucking went off on him like that, yeah. If your nuts were in range of my fucking foot, you know where you'd be. All right, buddy? And I don't say that idly. And you know this. And yeah, you know where my address is. It's like you said, that one time you're gonna come show up here. Yes, please do. Please do. I could use a little fucking light workout. All right, everybody else, big love. And we'll see you next time. Hopefully we'll be back. Maybe we'll see Jack today, which would be awesome. And yeah, that all that's water under the bridge between Jack and I, right? I mean, he had a buzz, so he said some shit, big deal, right? Fucking you know how many million times I've heard that, right? You know, I get it, right? And it doesn't bother me, all right? Doesn't bother me. Jack and I are bros, and little shit like that ain't gonna get to us. It's like so we get drunk and have an argument, big deal, right? I just didn't happen to be drunk. Otherwise, if I was, fuck, I probably really would have went, right? But no, it's all good. It's all cool in the gang, and I'll see you. We're gonna try for Saturdays. It looks like it will be our new day. Big love to everybody. Give yourself a hug if you can't get one. So that's what I got to do, baby. And I'll see you next time. See you, Kristen. Cheers.